على عهدي على ديني على أرض تلاقيني أنا لأهلي أنا فديهم أنا دمي فلسطيني 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 أنا دمي فلسطيني على أرض تلاقيني أنا لأهلي أنا فديهم والله أنا دمي فلسطيني 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 أنا دمي فلسطيني.
One of the reasons that Palestinians don't have this knowledge about the kitchens in different cities of Palestine is that Israel has disconnected different cities and regions and geographies in Palestine. So we don't have physical accessibility to those places, produce the food practices that differ one place to the other.
My name is Mirna Bami. I'm an artist, a cook, and founder of Palestine Hosting Society.
Palestine Hosting Society is a life art project. It seeks to create a platform for people to construct a relationship to geography, politics, history, but through food. You have Israeli chefs dealing with our food culture without actually knowing the backstory of those dishes. When you oppress that story, you are using food as a tool for oppression. After picking the topic or the city that I want to delve more into, I go to the place and I spend a month or two in that place and I meet people. Pre-1948 Nakba generation, the ones that have experienced this very sudden rupture from the land and have moved all over the world. With them, food moved, but as well with them, food was forgotten. And I meet mothers as well to understand what dishes they still cook and they don't cook. But as well I meet men, whether in small shops in old cities, old restaurants. Most of the people that I interviewed were exiled. The recipes have this power of movement that most of us Palestinians are not having. I discovered during my research bsest al-kharroub. And bsest is a very, very old, ancient dish. It's roasted semolina with olive oil, with carob molasses, and some people add tahini and sesame to it. It used to be the food that travelers and pilgrims carry with them when they travel because it has all this richness of nutrients and energy to it. When I present the menu, I do the performance. It's the artist who becomes the vehicle of transferring this knowledge on the table. They're not plated one by one because I want to maintain this sharing aspect of food, which is very much in our culture. For Palestinians as a farmer nation, we always had this very intimate connection with the land. Our grandfathers knew the land really well. It was their world. My generation are those that lost this knowledge. We're the generation that had to assimilate in their new places, whether refugee camps, whether outside Palestine, whether in new cities. When we as Palestinians see our ingredients being sold under the name of Israeli produce, it's a very hard moment for us. Somehow it refreshes the trauma of us losing the land, of us not having power over our existence. The land, not the space that you live on, but the place where you practice your being as a human being, as a Palestinian, as a culture, as a lineage of ancestors. And it's a story that we have to reclaim now in the present so we can pass it to the future.
The relationship of people with their heritage is at the heart of the first satellite exhibition from the newly opened Palestine Museum. It's called At the Seams, a political history of Palestinian embroidery, and it takes an intimate look at how the needle and thread played a role in the preservation of Palestinian identity.
What is a thobe? A traditional Palestinian dress, full robes, necklines, and winged sleeves, colorful embroidery on the chest, arm, or hem areas. These pieces are all part of the At the Seams, a political history of Palestinian embroidery. It's the first satellite exhibition of the Palestinian Museum that opened earlier this month in Ramallah. But just as the Palestinian people travel, these dresses are being showcased outside of the occupied territories in Beirut, where the biggest concentration of Palestinian refugees in the region live. The exhibition tells this story of exile and resistance.
Palestinian embroidery, for me, can be considered implicitly political by virtue of being made by people and worn on the body. It has a particular kind of intimacy, but it has also intersected in fascinating and sometimes unexpected ways big picture political events of the last 100 years.
After the Nakba of 1948, Palestinians were displaced and embroidery became a symbol of Palestinian heritage and endurance. Although every region has its own different patterns, the way needle and thread are used has remained the same. The museum's team of curators visit women from all over Palestine, Lebanon, and Jordan to discover how much more there is to their embroidery than meets the eye.
The most important thing for me is that we understand this material not just as simply beautiful or decorative, but rather something that can tell us about Palestinian history, about Palestinian endurance and longevity, not just in the past, but also very much in the present and in the future.
This is why the exhibition is not limited to these displays at the Nimr Museum. The Palestinian Museum has also digitally documented the lives of women who continue to embroider in Palestine and beyond.
Through heritage, we revive our country's memory, and I think the heritage empowers us and pushes us forward so we help our children and men.
Women like Krayam are also passing the tradition on to the next generations, with training centers in several Palestinian refugee camps.
We resist by preserving embroidery, but to preserve it, you have to teach it and spread it among people. That's why I'm giving lessons, to ensure the women are able to do embroidery and know the names of Palestinian stitches.
At the Seams continues to shed light on the lives of these women and communities and their relationship with history. Through the story of needle and thread, this exhibition is weaving the narrative of Palestinians across the region back together.
Resistance is, it's actually a big question. Resistance is first against the Israeli occupation. The second occupation, it comes from our own society, the social occupation. And then you have the mental occupation. The Freedom Theater is a safe spot for people to express themselves and to find their own freedom individually and then collectively. If you don't know how to understand and to tell your own story, you can't actually stand and fight for all different types of occupation that exist.
Resisting is being, fully being. Why is Freedom Theater is important to me, and I think why its role is important, because it's a way to say that I'm alive and I'm here and I'm full human being.
المقاومة هي إنك أنت تدافع عن حقك، إنك ما حداش يسلب لك حريتك، وإحنا نعطي المساحة للشباب وللأطفال إنهم يلقوا حالهم، يلقوا المساحة اللي يقدروا يعبروا فيها عن نفسهم. يعني من خلال المسرح، من خلال المالتي ميديا، من خلال التصوير الفوتوغرافي، من خلال الأفلام، من خلال الكتابة الإبداعية.
شكل من اشكال مثلا المقاومه اللي هي المقاومه الثقافيه، بدهم يدافعوا عن ارضهم او يدافعوا عن قضيه فلسطين ضد الاحتلال، مثلا بارسال رساله. شو هي رساله؟ عن طريق ايش؟ المقاومه الثقافيه.
مقاومة هي أنا من ناحيتي مش مقاومة بس بالاحتلال، هي مقاومة كمان أنا كبنت في مجتمع. هاي الاشياء ما فينيش أعملها أنا بما إنه بنت، وبما إنه مجتمع، وبما إنه عادات وتقاليد، وبما إني بفلسطين، وبما إني بجنين، وبما إني بمخيم. كتير في ضغط، كتير كل شيء ممنوع، كل شيء لا، كل شيء مش مسموح. إنه شكرا إن لقيت هيك مكان فيني أطلع فيه وإيش ما بدي.
I start to discover myself, who I am, what I want, and what I'm looking for. And this is important for me because, you know, when you grow up in refugee camp, it will be everything about killing or death or about intifadas or about the armies, prison. This is our stories, this is our dialogue. But suddenly in the theater you start, there is something more than this. I start to feel, you know, the occupation really is not only the wall or the checkpoints or the army or the prison. The occupation is more in the mind, in the dreams, in the thoughts. I feel in this place I keep my Palestinian identity alive.
بدي أشتغل، بدي أنجح، بدي أوصل، بدي أكون إشي منيح، بدي أوقف، بدي أوصل رسالات كتير من خلال المسرح.
Through the Freedom Theater, I find and also I show to the people the new colors of life, of happiness, of joy, of art, and also of a dream. And this is important because I believe we live because we have a dream.
People can change their reality only if they can imagine the life that they want to live. And the stage is a place to create whatever you want. So if you didn't have this alternative image of what you want, I don't think so you can accomplish it in somehow. So it's amazing chance to have this place to create how is real life can be, how is freedom can be, how is love can be, how is Palestine can be.
من أنا لأقول لكم ما أقول لكم، وأنا لم أكن حجراً صقلته المياه فأصبح وجها، ولا قصباً ثقبته الرياح فأصبح نايا. أنا لاعب النرد، أربح حيناً وأخسر حيناً. أنا مثلكم أو أقل قليلاً. ليس لي أي دور بما كنت، لو أن ذاك المكان الزراعي لم ينكسر ربما صرت زيتونة أو معلم جغرافيا أو خبيرا بمملكة النمل أو حارسا للصدى. من أنا لأقول لكم ما أقول لكم؟ ربحت مزيدا من الصحو، لا لأكون سعيدا بليلتي المقمرة، بل لكي أشهد المجزرة. نجوت مصادفة، كنت أصغر من هدف عسكري وأكبر من نحلة تتنقل بين زهور السياج. وخفت كثيرا على إخوتي وأبي، وخفت على زمن من زجاج، ومشى الخوف بي ومشيت به حافيا ناسيا ذكرياتي الصغيرة عما أريد من الغد. لا وقت للغد، لا وقت للغد. أمشي أهرول أركض أصعد أنزل أصرخ أولول أسرع أبطئ أهوي أخف أجف أسير أطير أركض أنسى أرى لا أرى أتذكر أسمع أبصر أهبي أهلوس أهمس أصرخ لا أستطيع أسقط أعلو وأهبط أدمى ويغمى علي.
Thank you.